Hi guys, welcome back to This is Bullshit. Tammy and I are part of ABR, or Alberta Resistance, AB Resistance. And we are going through the APP, which is Alberta Prosperity Project's handbook on what Alberta independence is and a path forward for that, which is what they actually suggest you to do. Get together, go through it with your friends, and see what you think. So that's what we're doing. This is part five. We've done four other parts. So please, if you don't just skip to this one, go to the go watch the series all the way through. And tell us what you think in the comments. Like, if what you are hearing resonates, if it's not resonating, let us know. In the meantime, Tammy, let's finish this off.
Oh, this has been a marathon. And I will show you later. There's a number of different books that target different groups as well. This is like the first one in a schwack of different ones, and they've got more coming up. So we have gone through 39 pages. This is our last real page that has any writing on it. We were just in the last one talking about how it's ironic that they have windmills up when they're talking about energy sector and potential because we have basically banned renewable
Renewables.
energy in Alberta.
Since
So that's
2023, thank you, Smith.
$33 billion down the toilet for income coming into Alberta
That
investment.
went to Nova
So
Scotia. That went to Nova
yeah,
Scotia. They
Texas.
then renewables packed up from Alberta and invested in Nova Scotia. So we missed out on that, guys.
So instead of doing that, we're doing AI data centers. That's our plan B to create money. We'll talk about that later. Anyway,
Yeah.
let's wrap this baby up. So really the impact, this is a beautiful picture. This is a young man standing in a wheat field. I don't know, most of these images look a little AI generated to me. I can't say that they are,
Hmm.
but gazing off into the distance. So what they're asking you to think of is future generations, right? The young people that are graduating today, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and how can you make Alberta better for them? Well,
Which is
Linda and
ironic.
I run.
It's ironic because that's what we're doing.
Right? But we're doing it staying in Canada and fighting for the Alberta that we want to create a better one for our children and grandchildren. And we don't do that by running away from something,
That's right.
right? We need to build something better.
And
And
we need to fight. We need we need to and not with our fist. I don't mean it like that. Don't take me that way.
uh,
I mean with our brains. Hold government accountable. Guys, for another time, I'm going to say government works for us, not the other way around. And right now, there's no accountability. Um, Go back and listen to our previous recordings, guys. We've talked about where the power has all been accumulated under the EC and Executive Council. And don't believe us, go in and read the bills themselves. You can go on Hansard. You can go in and read my stuff on Substack, Linda Walker Writes. You can go into ABR and read, what ABR has put out, which is Tammy's usually the one who puts all of that together for us. Thank you, Tammy. And you know, it's they're playing on your emotions. They're playing on your grievances, and they're putting the blame everywhere else but where it needs to be, which is the government right now. So
the
anyway,
Alberta government.
the Alberta government, yes.
Yeah, the Alberta
Um,
government. Yeah, no,
if you're not,
it's been
if you,
quite a
yeah,
ride.
if you're not happy with the way that this province is ran, if you're not happy with the way things are going in your life, it's not the federal government's fault. They have their part. I'm not going to deny that. But the province is mostly financially responsible for Alberta and has been. And it's been the Conservatives that have ran this province for over 50 years, minus 4 years of NDP. You and this current GOA is currently spending over $20 billion a year more than the NDP. So if you were fiscally responsible and worried about government's overreach and overspending, then you really need to be paying attention to what's going on in Alberta. So, all right,
100%.
let's finish this page.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one, and then I'm going to say something about the two V's.
Okay.
So the final thoughts. Here's where they say, sorry, I'm going to go back and say something with my two V's first because I'll forget.
Okay.
Age has a way of doing that to me. So your vote, your voice matters.
That's right.
Businesses, oil companies cannot vote for a government. Businesses cannot vote for a government. She is set up so that people can donate through their businesses, the maximum of $5,000 a year, plus each individual can donate $5,000 a year. And that's why they are maxing out their donations, and they've got so much more money in their war chest than the NDP do or the Tories do, is because allegedly they are shaking down some of the people they give grants to donate to their constituency offices. So allegedly, this is what I've heard. But your voice is important. If it wasn't so important, they wouldn't be trying to shut you down.
That's right. They wouldn't be
And
doing
if you believe in
gerrymandering.
separation, right? And if you believe in separation, we think the same thing. Your voice is important. You should be saying what's wrong. So let's work on fixing it together.
Absolutely.
People are primary. Like this planet, community people, that's the ones that have the power. But we hand it over when we're sleeping, when they convince us emotionally to check out, and they just do what they want to do. And the conservatives, the UCP, Republicans in the States have all figured out there's nobody to stop them. It was common decency that stopped people from doing the things that they did to take and wreck the government, wreck economy, wreck people's lives.
Yep.
And so now they just are doing whatever they want to do. But when we stand up together collectively, when we use our voice, when we vote for what we truly believe in, a better Alberta for people, that's what we'll create. And they can't take that away from you unless you willingly give it.
That's
You
right.
need, you need everyone to stand up.
Yeah. Guys, the division is probably the one thing that um, pisses me off the most. It's bullshit. We are stronger together. We are stronger working together to ensure that we don't have politicians taking advantage of people, that we don't have, these wild accusations. We need to invest in civil education, civics. Civics is missing. I'm sorry, Tami, I know you're an educator, but civics
I know.
is, you know, so important because if you don't understand the way that your government runs, then you're easy to manipulate. So learn how your government works and then use your grievances to make it better for all Albertans, not just the ones you agree with.
Yeah, 100%. All right, you asked me about where I saw the passport thing. Here we
Yeah.
go. So anyone born in Canada will always be a Canadian citizen. 3 million Canadians currently don't live in Canada, and over 3 million have dual citizenship, including 48 MPs. I wonder if that's referring to her honorable member from Calgary Nose Hill, Oklahoma, Michelle Rempel.
Oh, I would love to talk to her. I would love to talk to her. Michelle, if you're listening to this, get in touch with me. I would love to have a conversation with you. Seriously, you're from Oklahoma. I'm from Oklahoma. Let's debate this.
I love it. That would be great.
Hmm.
So, also, did you know that Canada is the only country from the G20 that's currently in a recession,
Oh, that's old news.
which everything I've heard has been glowing about what Carney is doing and that he is changing Canada's relationship with other countries, trade agreements, and doing a fantastic job. Like Canada's economy has grown
Yeah, what was
immeasurably
it?
compared to other countries.
What was it that I heard the other day? Was it 120 deals have been done by Carney with other countries?
Something
So,
like that. Yeah.
I mean, all I hear about Carney is how he's traveling everywhere. Guess what, guys? If you're worried about travel costs, go in and look at the government of Alberta's travel and hospitality expenses. It might be shocking to you.
Yeah.
Um, and people have been, do I have grievances with Carney? I do. I do. Me personally, I don't think we should be donating anything else to people who are committing a genocide. Um, but that's for another piece. Um, I the recession part that we were technically in a recession for what, a week? And
Yeah.
they used it for, they're using it to prop this up. So guys, again, misinformation. We are not in a recession. We were for a week, and that was just because of the way that the numbers rolled through. So,
Yeah.
um, hold all three levels of government accountable for what they need to do. Let's go into the government overreach and violation of rights and freedoms. I'm anxious for that one.
Okay. So Bill C8, more control over telecommunications like internet and cell service. So
Hmm.
they could order companies to block access to the internet without going through a court and without public transparency. While the stated goal is to improve cybersecurity, there are concerns that this would lead to government overreach, less transparency, and violations of personal freedoms. Violations of personal freedoms. Let's talk about the US, who through Microsoft, any company, so all those AI data centers coming into Canada,
Hmm.
any company that's got a base in the US, the US federal government can ask them for data information on anybody,
Hmm.
business, any individual,
Hmm.
and they have to turn it over. A lot of Europe right now is looking at doing changing over and getting private, like Proton emails about using different kinds of programs, not Google and not Microsoft Word, but
Hmm.
other computer programs that take and allow them to take and have more privacy and more control over their information. Because,
And
yeah,
didn't she recently put through a bill in the province that has to do with data sharing, information sharing of data information sharing, that they took away the
yes,
regulations for that?
yeah,
So I don't know if it's federal. I think that that might be provincial, but
two
uh,
levels of government.
sorry.
I said the two levels of government. So the provincial are doing their thing to take and to erode the rails, while the federal is trying to take and strengthen that piece of it to protect Canadians.
So I just
I
went
don't know.
through, and I want to go through Bill C8 because cybersecurity and critical infrastructure is what they call it. This creates a federal cybersecurity framework for federally regulated critical systems and amends the Telecommunications Act. Think telecom, banking, energy systems, crossing provincial and international borders, transportation, and other federally regulated critical infrastructure. It allows government to require designated operators to establish cybersecurity programs, mitigate supply chain and third-party risks, and report cybersecurity incidents. It also gives the government substantial security-related powers over telecom providers, which is where legitimate civil civil liberties, thank
All
you,
right.
privacy oversight concerns arise. It is not simply a law allowing Ottawa to shut down Alberta's infrastructure whenever it wants, which is what is being said. Jurisdiction and
Yeah.
actual statutory powers matter. Parliament currently lists Bill C8 as having passed both chambers and awaiting royal assent. So, and then,
That kind of ties into that Bill C-22
yeah,
as well.
I've got
Fight
that
crime
too.
and improve cybersecurity.
Yeah. Um, so now we're going to look at Bill C9. So what do they say on Bill C9?
The bill focuses on stopping hate speech and hate-based actions, and it's really pissing them off that Edmonton Police Service is putting out those ads about reporting hate speech,
Yep.
right? So they're saying that's not a bad thing. The controversy is around how broadly terms like hate and intimidation are defined. The government might not apply these definitions consistently or fairly, potentially targeting certain groups. Freedom of speech and expression may be stifled. Now, isn't a law basically supposed to be applicable to everybody?
Yeah, I mean, that's what a law
So they
is.
have parameters, right?
Yep. So what
So
I've got,
if I'm
go ahead. Go.
no, I was going to say, so if I'm someone who's um, a little upset with somebody that might be a little more leftist than I am, and I threaten to find them and hurt them,
That's a
then
hate crime.
that's hate speech, right?
Hmm. Um, so I have heard multiple people say that Bill C9 is against Christians and being able to show your faith. That is not true, guys. Not in the slightest. If you believe that, you're being manipulated. Um, Bill C9 Combating Hate Act. This one is now law. It received royal assent June 18th, 2026, with the reforms coming into force July 18th. It amends the criminal code to create specific offenses involving intimidation, obstruction of access to places such as houses of worship. You're not being told you can't go. Schools and community centers used by identifiable groups, creates a specific hate motivated crime offense, defines hatred, and criminalizes willfully promoting hatred through public display of specific terrorist and hate symbols, including symbols principally associated with listed terrorist entities, two Nazi symbols and a noose, for an example. There was a real controversy, and we shouldn't, pretend otherwise. Parliament debated protection of good faith religious expression, including an attempt to restore the former religious expression defense. That's a legitimate charter free expression issue to discuss separately from exaggerated claims that C9 simply makes disagreement with government illegal. So that's the technical
Uh,
breakdown of Bill C9.
so if somebody goes and targets a Jewish synagogue and paints hate symbols on it, or a Muslim mosque or whatever, that's a hate crime.
Or Christian.
That's what this is defining. Or a
Yep.
Christian's church. Yeah. Or burning a cross on someone's lawn.
Yep.
Those are all like crimes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that seems logical to me.
I mean,
Like we
right?
should want that to be in place to keep people safe, right?
Right.
Like, when did that become a problem?
When people were being called out for their hate, that's when it became a problem. People were being called out for their hate, and now they're whining titty babies who want to be able to say what they want with no consequences. That's not the way life works. Sorry.
And then they get upset when they get called out on something
Hmm.
in a nice way, like in an appropriate way
Yeah, I'm kind of
about
done
stuff
being
I
nice
don't
about
understand.
things. I'm
I
kind
don't
of done.
understand.
I'm just done being nice about stuff. So, um,
Yeah.
anyway, let's go on to Bill 22.
Bill C-22. So meant to help police fight crime and improve cybersecurity by expanding digital surveillance powers. However, they think this bill gives too much access to people's online information. So if I go to the States, the state's people can ask me to take and reveal my password to my phone so they can go in and look at all my social media.
Yep.
That's overreach. They don't do that here in Canada.
Nope.
Okay. So even if I'm not suspected of a crime in Canada, concerns have been raised about data collection and protections from unreasonable search. Major tech companies like Apple, Google, and Meta have voiced concerns about privacy violations of this bill. Interesting.
Okay. The first thing I'm going to point out is the hypocrisy. Wasn't it APP who gave our data to the US?
It wasn't APP, it was David Parker and the
Oh yeah, Take
Centurion
Back
Project. So that's
Alberta.
an offshoot. Yeah, it was an offshoot of the whole separatist thing. Like there's about like, I don't know, 20 groups, maybe more, maybe even more, that are doing like supporting all of this, that are working together, right? Like Rise Alberta and Give Alberta, take give voice or whatever. Not give voice, but let Albertans decide. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. But yeah, no, no, it was David Parker that did that.
I just think that
And
that's a
he's a
little
locally in
hypocritical.
Texas. It is so hypocritical. Yeah, and
Okay.
we have no idea what that stuff even is.
No.
So what does it say?
Bill C-22, Lawful Access Act 2026. This is probably the one that deserves our closest scrutiny. It isn't law yet. Parliament currently has it in committee after second reading. It would modernize police investigation or investigative access to electronic information. So that's where the whole border thing we were just talking about. Um,
Yeah.
Among other things, it creates mechanisms concerning subscriber information and confirmation that a telecom provider supplies service to a particular subscriber account. It also creates supporting Authorized Access to Information Act, establishing requirements intended to ensure electronic service providers can facilitate access where authorities are legally authorized under the Criminal Code or CSIS Act. So, with APP characterize this as expanded federal surveillance power, there is something substantive underneath that criticism. We should examine exactly which demands require judicial authorization, which do not, which information can be obtained, and what safeguards exist before deciding whether this description is bullshit. I'm not giving Ottawa a free pass just because we're fact checking separatist. So just so you know, there's legitimate concerns about Bill C-22. At least in my opinion, there are. Um, but, you know, I don't think it's cause for us to be separated. But, that's not here or there.
Yeah.
But basically, for that, it is something definitely we need to be keeping our eye out, right? For federal. That
That,
one I agree
yeah.
with, personally.
Yeah.
Um,
I hear you. So I'm just going to throw something in there to take and say, okay, maybe it's not such a bad thing. It's
okay.
kind of like driving a car, right?
Hmm.
Like if you speed with your car and there's photo radar and you get a ticket, natural consequence. If you've got nothing there really to hide, you haven't done anything,
You just get a ticket.
they can't manufacture. Yeah, exactly. And same with Bill C-22. Like they can't manufacture unless they can find a way to manufacture stuff and put it into your phone. That would be an issue for me.
I mean,
But if you haven't done anything,
what
why
are you
would you be
worried
in
about?
trouble with?
Yeah, there's nothing to
Exactly.
be worried about if you haven't done anything illegal. And I mean that's just a
Yeah.
consequence of life, right? Like,
Yeah.
I do agree, like there is some concerns about watching what the data security is, but in
Mhm.
general, if you haven't done anything wrong, then there's nothing for you to worry about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I agree.
okay, Bill C-34. I'll let you read
Okay.
it.
Okay, so this bill would restrict strict social media access for anyone under 16. Provinces are already doing this, I think, some of them. Give the government power to decide what content is considered harmful for all users. Once again, the definitions are broad and could lead to government censorship, which is in direct conflict with the principles of democracy. It is also concerning that young people could lose access to online communities, support networks, and spaces where they share ideas, as well as making digital ID necessary for all ages, leading to potential social credit like restrictions. Oh, this kind of has vibes of like China, right? Where you get a social credit score depending on what you do. And
That's the
so,
way that they're interpreting it. Um, so Bill C-34 is a foreign investment national security. Completely different error, introduced in December of 2022, Royal Assent, March 22nd, 2024, with most major provisions taking effect September 3rd, 2024. It modernized the Investment Canada Act and strengthened Canada's ability to review foreign investment for national security concerns. So I'm going to jump in here really quick before I go on. Um,
okay.
if you guys remember when the convoy happened, right? They got their bank accounts frozen. Um, and as long as there wasn't foreign investment tied to their bank accounts, it became unfrozen. But if there was foreign investment tied to them, then it stayed frozen. And in Canada, you can't have a foreign party um, influencing a political movement. So it doesn't matter whether it's from the US because they are a foreign country. We are not part of the
There.
United States. So they are a foreign country. And anyway, so it expanded tools, including ministerial authority to extend national security reviews, impose interim conditions while reviews occur, accept undertaking addressing security concerns, exchange information with international counterparts, and consider effects involving government-funded intellectual property and personal data. It also strengthens penalties and reviews mechanisms. So translation, this is largely about determining whether foreign ownership and investment in Canadian businesses poses a national security risk. Okay, just going to throw in an example for you here. Our media. So I believe it was Harper who sold the ability to have foreign investors in our media. And so now we are being influenced by what the US, the millionaire people who own the media are wanting us to know. That's what we're learning. And so I don't know if you noticed or somebody out there has noticed like a difference in the way that the Canadian media portrays things. Like that's all we hear about is the state stuff. You rarely hear much
Yeah.
about Canada anymore. Um,
Yeah.
And, so that's what it's talking about, like being able to have those powers to manipulate things, right? Given contemporary concerns about foreign state investment, sensitive technology, data, and intellectual property, describing C-34 merely as Ottawa grabbing control over Alberta would leave out its central purpose. And here's something important for our bullshit.
Okay.
APP says these bills prove X. Let's open the damn legislation and see whether they actually do, guys. Let's not rely on what we're being told. Do the homework. Bill C-22 in particular contains powers that deserve legitimate scrutiny, like we said. C-8 also raises oversight privacy questions. C-9 has genuine charter debates. C-34 genuinely strengthens federal authority over foreign investment. So when APP is right about something, we have admitted that, right? Um,
Absolutely.
but when they take legitimate provisions and stretch it into Ottawa can do whatever it wants to Alberta, guys, that's exactly where the legislation stops being their story and, begins being truthful. So you need to look into what the legislation actually says. Don't just rely on what other people
Agreed.
have to say.
Yeah. So, like just to go back to your media, foreign media thing, post media is the big thing that
Hmm.
came in from the state. And the other thing that we need to be aware of too is that under Stephen Harper, they signed a 31-year deal with China, a FIPA deal that had all of the details hidden for that period of time. Like we don't even know what Canada signed away
That's
for
right.
that. So um, I think that we need to also recognize that it's not just the liberals,
Hmm.
right, that are trying to take and put guardrails around social media, around data information and that, but that the conservative government has used it in order to take and manipulate Canadian. I don't want to say manipulate, in order for other entities to manipulate Canadians,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
we need to be aware of that. Like it's not just
Allegedly.
against allegedly, it's not just against the liberals. Like we need to look at the big picture and understand that there's a lot more involvement from other players as well.
But that, that's
So,
where I keep saying, like, follow the actual legislation. Don't just listen to politicians. Politicians are there to tell you what they want you to know. But the real
absolutely.
truth is in the legislation. Go read the
Yeah,
bills.
absolutely. Makes sense. All right. Uh, Here we go. So myth. Here's our myths and truths. So
Okay.
Alberta can't leave Canada. It's not legal. So they're saying actually we have the legal right to leave. The law is already in place. So in 1998, the Supreme Court ruled that any province has the right to pursue independence if there's a clear majority vote. It didn't define what that looked like. And that's from the landmark reference succession of the Quebec case. And in response, the Parliament passed what's called the Clarity Act in 2000, confirming the same thing. If a majority of Albertans vote to leave, the federal government must negotiate our exit. No new laws are needed. We already have the constitutional path laid out, but we also have some responsibilities in that, including consultation with First Nations, treaty rights. We have a lot of other pieces in place. So it's not just that we start negotiating and then we can leave. There's other pieces that we need to dot the I's across the T's on. Like we need to have so many provinces agree with us about things. It's a negotiation. It doesn't mean that Alberta will separate. They're making it sound like we just decide we're going to do it and we negotiate it and it's done.
Okay,
What are
so
your
I'm gonna
thoughts?
I'm gonna go through the Clarity Act just a little bit. So the Clarity Act is actually
Okay.
much less magical than separatist rhetoric makes it sound. It does not say 50% plus one, and congratulations, you're a country. No, it establishes the conditions under which the federal government can enter negotiations following a provincial referendum on succession. It was enacted in 2000 following the Supreme Court's 1998 Quebec succession reference. Here's what it actually does. Number one, a province can hold a referendum on leaving Canada. The act recognizes that a province may put a succession question to its population, but the referendum itself cannot legally separate the province from Canada. The Supreme Court was explicit. Even an overwhelming successful referendum has no legal effect by itself. A province cannot unilaterally succeed. That's probably the single most important fact of the whole show. Number two, the
Yeah.
question has to be clear. Within 30 days after a provincial government official releases its proposed referendum question, the House of Commons must determine whether the question clearly asks voters whether they want the province to cease being part of Canada. And the Act gives examples of questions that aren't clear. A question isn't clear if it merely asks for a mandate to negotiate without directly asking about succession. Likewise, you can't muddy the question by offering some fuzzy arrangement such as, should Alberta become sovereign while maintaining a new economic and political partnership with Canada? Huh, that sounds familiar. Number three,
Yeah.
winning requires a clear majority. This is where you'll hear a lot of bullshit. The Clarity Act does not establish 50% plus one as automatically sufficient. As the referendum, the House of Commons must determine whether there has been a clear expression of will or of a clear majority to leave Canada. The Act requires consideration of things including the size of the majority, the percentage of eligible voters who voted, and other relevant circumstances. That's because the Supreme Court deliberately described clear majority as a qualitative evaluation, not simply a predetermined mathematical threshold. So 50 plus 1 equals automatic independence? No. 50 plus 1 equals automatic negotiations under the Clarity Act? Also no. Um, Number 4, if the question or majority isn't clear, Ottawa doesn't negotiate succession. If the House determines the question wasn't clear, the Government of Canada shall not enter into negotiations on succession. Likewise, if the House determines there wasn't a clear majority supporting succession, there is no federal obligation under the Act to begin negotiation of independence. Number 5, but if there is a clear question plus clear majority, Canada can't simply shrug. This part matters because we shouldn't exaggerate in the opposite direction. The Supreme Court held that a clear majority voting for succession on a clear question creates democratic legitimacy and imposes constitutional obligation on the other participants in the Confederation to negotiate. So Ottawa can't legitimately say cute referendum anyway, but there would be a constitutional duty to negotiate. But a duty to negotiate is not a duty to grant independence. And that's the huge distinction. Number 6, and those negotiations would be enormous. The Clarity Act expressly says lawful succession would require a constitutional amendment. Negotiations would have to address whether matters including division of assets and liabilities, changes to Canada's borders, Indigenous interests, rights and territorial claims, and protection of minority rights. And the Supreme Court went even further. There are no predetermined outcomes to those negotiations, meaning Alberta doesn't get to announce we're keeping X percentage of the CPP. They don't get to say we're keeping federal infrastructure. They don't get to say they're keeping the Canadian dollar. They don't get to say they're taking this territory. They don't get to say assessing this much federal debt. They can't say that we're maintaining these trade agreements. Those would be negotiating positions, not entitlements created by a winning referendum. Number 7, Indigenous rights are particularly important for Alberta. The Act specifically requires consideration of the rights, interests, and territory claims of the Aboriginal peoples of Canada. That makes any separatist pitch portraying Alberta's current provincial borders as automatically becoming the borders of independent Alberta far too certain. Even the Supreme Court said negotiations would involve minority rights, constitutional principles, and the interest of numerous participants, not simply Alberta negotiating a divorce settlement with Ottawa. So here's the Clarity Act in plain English, guys. Albertans can vote to pursue independence. The referendum question must be clearly asked about leaving Canada. There must be a clear majority supporting it, not an automatically prescribed 50% plus 1 threshold. A successful referendum does not make an Alberta independent. It triggers an obligation to negotiate constitutional change. Canada, Alberta, and the other provinces and affected constitutional interests then enter what would likely be extraordinarily complicated negotiations. An actual separation requires constitutional amendment. And perhaps the best line for us is the devil would be in the details, guys.
Absolutely. We're less than a minute, Linda.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to come back for part 6. We'll be back. Thanks, guys.
Sorry. It's all good.